Well, I appreciate you guys making time to be here. And what Paul was saying earlier about gathering together, even though you're busy, even though you got stuff going on, you guys took the time, and girls, took the time to come here, and you see the value in it. And that's great because, we talk a lot about a personal relationship with God, but there's something about having a shared relationship with God, where you have that one-on-one, but you're able also to have a shared time with God, where you come together with a group of people who are like-minded, who are seeking God, who want to follow after Him, and they're on the same page as you are, and they're like cheering you on, and maybe they're not quite where you're at, and maybe you're not quite where they're at, but at least you got to move in the right direction. That's huge. So I commend you for taking time out of your busy college life and making time to be here. I want to pass this out and talk about the power of friendship a little bit tonight, if that's okay. We got some scriptures on here and some thoughts. So I'll take one of these and pass it around. Did your mom ever say to you growing up, did she ever say anything like this to you? You are, maybe she said it in a little different tone. You are who you are you think you are? No, she maybe said that. You are who you hang out with, right? You become who your friends are, right? That's something that maybe your mom said to you. My mom said it to me, and there's a lot of wisdom in that. Your mom was onto something. She was right. And the older you get, the more you begin to realize that. Those of you who have made it through middle school, you survived middle school, you made it through high school, you're into college. Each stage is a little bit different, but friendships you learn are very, very, very important. They can make you or they can break you. And if you don't have the right friendships, then you're not going to be able to be all that God designed you to be. You're not going to become a better person if you don't have the right friendships. On the other hand, if you do have the right friendships, you can be all that you were meant to be, and then some. They make you better. And there's an interesting verse in Proverbs. It's in chapter 12, verse 26. Look at it with me. It says, the righteous choose their friends how? Carefully. It says, but the way of the wicked leads them astray. And then there's another verse to follow up with that in Proverbs 13, verse 20. It says, become wise by walking with what? With the wise. You become wiser by walking with wise people, but you hang out with fools and watch your life fall to pieces. Isn't that interesting? Mom was on something. Maybe she got a little wisdom from God. Maybe God just gave her that intuition to know that, hey, my kids need to make sure to hang out with the right people, or they're going to wind up in trouble. And that's what Solomon's saying here in Proverbs. God speaking through him is that, listen, who you hang out with does matter. It affects your life. If you show me your friends, I will show you your future. You ever found that to be true? Huh? Yeah. I mean, you find that to be true. When you hang around with people, they affect your destiny. They affect the direction of your life. Andy Stanley says it this way. He says, your friends determine the quality and the direction of your life. The people you hang out with, whether you know it or not, influence you. Okay? Were you ever influenced to do something wrong when you were a kid, maybe in middle school, elementary school? Your friends like, hey, let's do this, And did you go along with it? Be honest now, come on. Did you go along with it?
Yes.
You okay? Yeah. There were times when you did. And what ended up happening? Didn't go well. Things turned bad, went south really quick. Maybe you wound up in the principal's office, or you wound up, on the other side of a spanking from your parents, or a restriction, or whatever, or maybe worse yet, you got into some really big trouble. Maybe the authorities got involved, and you found yourself, talking to a police officer. I don't know. But the people you hang around with do matter. On the other hand, the flip side of that, were you ever influenced in a positive way by friends in middle school, high school, where you had some friends who were like, hey, why don't you go with me to church? Why don't you go with me to this Bible study? Why don't you go with me and let's go serve this person or whatever. Did that ever happen to you? Okay? And what was the result? A lot of fun. Blessed. Good things came out of it, right? Something good came out of it. Maybe you were getting introduced to the Lord through another friend. Okay? And so your friends do matter. For years, sociologists and leadership experts have said this, that you are the sum average of the 5 people that you're closest to in your life. You're the sum average. In other words, you take your friends, the 5 closest friends that you have or acquaintances, and if you were to rate them, put them on a scale of where they're at, with the Lord, or where they're at in the quality of their life, you are the sum average of those 5 friends. The people that you surround yourself with do affect your life. They affect you. They influence you. And so my question for you, my first question is this: who are your 5 closest friends? You don't have to answer, but just think about it. Can you put a face and a name, on that list? 5 closest friends. Let me challenge you to do it a little bit later. Go home, write out your 5 closest friends, and you know what? Whatever they are, whoever they are, you are the sum average of those 5 friends. And maybe you don't have 5 friends. I don't know. Maybe you have just, if you find 1 good friend, you're blessed. You find 2 good friends, you're blessed. So maybe it's the sum average of 2 friends. I don't know. But and Facebook friends don't really count because, let's be real. You call those people up, they ain't gonna be there for you, 2 in the morning. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're like, I got all these friends and I can't call any of them for anything, And so here's the next thing, the next question. What do your friendships say about you? In other words, if you look at a reflection in the mirror, you look at your reflection, if you don't like what you see, maybe you need to change the people you hang out with. Because the people you hang out with, they create a reflection in your life. They influence you. Okay? And then here's another question I have for you. Are your friends lifting you up or dragging you down? Let's just say for a moment that you are at the top of your 5 friends. Like you're the best of the best. Okay? I know you probably wouldn't say I'm the best friend. But let's just say if you were to somehow equate value in their life, and you were to give them a rating on where they were at in their relationships, and their spiritual life, and their education, and the direction of their life, and you were somehow at the top of it, chances are what's going to happen? Are they going to lift you up, or are they going to drag you down? They're all below you, right? What's going to happen? They're going to pull you down. However, on the other hand, if you have, let's say you're at the bottom, of your friends, and you have friends that are better than you, they're better than you in relationships, they're better than you in finances, they're better or closer to the Lord than you are, they have their stuff together when it comes to school, when it comes to the team, man, they've got it going on. Are they going to drag you down, or are they going to lift you up? What are they going to do? They're going to lift you up, right? They're going to bring you up to their level. So you see what I'm talking about here. It does matter. And I know you're smart people. I'm sure you get this. But it's good to be reminded of it. There's a passage here in Proverbs 2 that I'd like to read through. And if you guys can help me out reading, that would be great. If you want to take maybe just a section or a sentence and read it, and we can just share in this. And let's try to focus on this as we read it and let God speak to us, okay? Someone just start off the first one.
Good friend, take to heart what I'm telling you. Let my counsels and guard with your life.
Tune your ears to the word of wisdom. Set your hearts on the life of understanding. That's right. If you make insight your priority, you won't take no for an answer.
Section 4 and 5. Perspective, pain, load, like an adventure on treasure hunt. Believe me before you know it, fear of God. Believe me before you know it, fear of God will be yours. You will have come upon the knowledge of God.
And here's why. God gives our wisdom free. It is plain spoken knowledge and understanding. He's a rich mind of common sense for those who live well, a personal bodyguard for the candid and sincere.
He keeps his eye on all who live honestly, pays special attention to his loyal and committed ones.
So now you can figure out what's true and fair to find all the good troubles.
Lady wisdom will be your close friend, and brotherly knowledge your pleasant companion.
Good sense will scout ahead for danger.
disciple. Will keep you from making wrong turns or following bad directions of those who have lost themselves and can't tell a trail from a tumbleweed.
His losers who make a game of evil with full hearts to celebrate the person traveling past like a nowhere, wandering in ways, detours and dead ends.
Wise friends will rescue you from the temptress, but smooth talking seductress, who is faithfulness to the husband she married years ago, never gets second thought to her, promise before God.
Her whole way of life is doomed. Every step she takes brings her closer to hell. No one who joins her company ever comes back, ever sets foot on the path to real living.
Join the company of good men and women. Keep your feet on the tried and true path. It's the men who walk straight who will settle this land, the women with integrity who will last here. The corrupt will lose their lives, the dishonest will be gone for good.
Wow. There's so much meat there. There's so much great stuff that God spells out to us in just one chapter of the Bible. And the question I have for you is how, and you may be asking, is how can I have the right friendships? You know, if I'm going to do this, if friendships do matter, how can I have the right friendships? And I think the first thing we need to do is this, is that we need to tune into wisdom and let it be our guide. You know, the Bible is so rich with wisdom and knowledge. The reason you're at college is, well, maybe you get a scholarship, maybe you just want to see the world, but the chances are you're here to learn, right? You're here to learn something. You're here to get a degree in whatever field of aviation you're studying, right? Because you're gaining wisdom. Wisdom helps you to get ahead in life, helps you to be better, okay? But there's a wisdom that goes beyond book learning, that has to do with life, the practical application of God principles in our life. And we need to tune into it. You ever been searching on the radio for a station? Maybe you travel on the road and you can't find one. Isn't it frustrating? Or you're listening to a song and you hear it comes in and out, you know, and you're hearing it. It's like, you get so frustrated because you want to hear that song. Some of us in life, it's easy to become distracted and to hear static. There are things that kind of cloud our judgment and keep us from really being tuned in to what God's saying to us, be tuned into wisdom. But what are some things in our life that maybe create static for us? You help me. Okay? Busy life, a lot of classes. Okay? Extracurriculars. Yeah. Okay. Xbox 360. I returned it. Social media. Yeah. I mean, that, you know, it's become an epidemic. People who just can't sleep with their phone. They wake up, they check their phone in the middle of the night. You know, I'm included in that. We just become captivated by social media and what everybody else is doing. It can sometimes drown out what we need to be focused on. Right?
Sometimes just social events in general.
Yeah, and it could be good things. It could be really good things. It could be bad things when it comes to social events. But yeah, definitely, just a hurried, busy life can keep us from really hearing what we need to know, or seeing from the scriptures what we need to see. Anything else?
Like pursuing the wrong things, like trying to have like a good reputation, but like being cool.
Yeah.
All of that.
Status, right? Yeah. Being more worried about your image than you are about your, who you are, your integrity. Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
It's interesting. Simple quiet. You guys, coming back in our generation of that, there wasn't as many distractions. Wasn't a lot of channels on TV.
Cell phones.
Yeah, there's no cell phones. You're not bouncing home. I work 24 hours a day, so that's cell phone. Yeah, it's constant. It's before it wasn't that. Business.
Yeah, certainly. You know, technology and social media, all those things can be great. But we have to, I think, create margin in our lives. You know what margin is, right? When you look at a page, you you know, a little edge around the outside where the words don't run all the way to the edge, you know, there's margin around it, for you to take little notes in or whatever. You have to create margin in your lives. Enough time for you to get alone in a quiet place with God and tune in, so that you can really hear, no static, no distortion, no other noise, you know, where you can just really hear God, what He's saying to you. Be alone with His Word. Tune into wisdom. And if you do that, you think it's going to make a difference when it comes to your friendships? Yeah, I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? I mean, you'll have this common sense, this discernment, this insight when it comes to who you choose to hang out with. Now, let me just say this. As believers, we're to be friendly to everyone. We're to be friendly and kind and loving to everyone. But there are certain people that you just can't surround yourself with because you know they're going to drag you down. And so I'm talking about your closest companions, those that not that you're not friends with people, and even friends to people who aren't believers, or friends to people who aren't, you know, in the faith. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the people that you do life with. You need to be people that they're heading in the same direction you are. They're going to bring you up, not bring you down. Here's the next thing. Pursue a friendship with God first. When you put God first, when you say, God, of all the friends in my life, of all the relationships in my life, yours is most important. You know, part of the reason that, you know, I was telling Gokay that my life is busy and hurried, and if I didn't have my relationship with God, I'd go nuts. I really would. I mean, life is crazy. I have a wonderful wife. I have 5 children, a grandbaby on the way. We have 2 dogs. We have a business that we run out of our home, an internet business. I'm a pastor of a church. It's just 3.5 years old. We have probably 250 people connected to our church. I coach track and field over at Spruce Creek High School. Life is busy. You know what I mean? It's just like crazy busy. And if I didn't have my connection with God, I didn't take time with Him, I'd pull all my curly hair out. Okay? I would go crazy. It's that rock that my life is on that sustains me. It's that anchor that keeps me in place and keeps me grounded when the storm is raging and life is just turning and tossing. It's that. Having a friendship with God, first and foremost, is most important. If you want to have the right friendship, start there. Start with a relationship with God. I don't know where you're at in your relationship with God. I hope that you're in His family. I hope that you know Him in a personal way. But if you don't, listen, that's something we can help you with. You know, it's easy. God didn't make it difficult. Let me let you in on a little secret. You don't have to go on a religious quest to find a religious relic around the world. You don't have to mount up your good works in order to try to please God and show Him, I'm worth being in your family. You don't have to do that. God's already done everything possible for you to have a relationship with Him. He wants to be your friend. He knows more about you than you know about yourself. And He sent His Son Jesus to give Himself as a sacrifice for your sins so that you could have a relationship with God, so you could be made right with Him. And when you know that, and you have that connection with God, it makes all the difference in the world. When you're connected with, let me tell you a little story about my life if I could for a moment. There was a time in my life when before I met my wife, that I was a teenager, I was in high school, making some wrong decisions, hanging out with the wrong people. I connected with this girl that I thought she was it, you know, but she wasn't. And everybody tried to tell me that, and I wouldn't hear them. I wouldn't hear what they had to say. I ended up getting married to this girl. So here I am, a senior in high school. Imagine this is crazy. And I'm married, okay? And I'm married to someone who I thought I could help, that I thought I could change, right? I can make them a better person. And you know what ended up happening? Man, my life became a train wreck really quick. I mean, it went from 0 to 60 in like no time, train wreck, right? It was just crazy. And all the while, God had a plan and God had a purpose, and He could still take good and bring it out of my mess. But I didn't take to heart what I'm telling you. Okay? So I'm speaking from experience here. The people in your life that you connect with, especially when it comes to, you know, it's February, we're just thinking about Valentine's, romantic relationships. You know, the people that you connect with, the person that you end up being as a spouse is probably the most important relationship outside of your relationship with God that you could ever have, right? And if you don't get that relationship right, it can make you or break you. And for me, I became a broken person at the age of 19. I became divorced, I had a child, and I'd been through a really rough time. And you know what I did is I just went back to the basics of my God, you're first in my life. You are my priority. If my friendship with you isn't right, nothing's right. And I began just to seek God. Well, lo and behold, it wasn't long. I wasn't really seeking anyone. I met my wife. Beautiful woman, beautiful person, outside and inside, smart, funny, likes to laugh, have a good time, just great. And God sent her to me. She was a gift. And now here we are, 20 years later. We celebrated 20 years in August. And you know what? She makes me a better person, you know? But it all started with me not seeking her, seeking God first. When I sought God first, I didn't have to worry about my romantic relationships. I didn't worry about my friendships because God was a priority. All that just fell in place. I was tuned into wisdom. I could hear what God wanted to say and help me have discernment and wisdom. And I was able to do things different the second go around. Thank God He gave me a second go around. You know, I love that Brass and Flat song. I don't know if you're a country fan. It says, "God bless the broken road that led me straight to you." That was my life, and that's my life. And so I got another chance to do it right, and now I've been blessed. What's that? Sure. Yeah, 1 Corinthians 6. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
What is this?
Well, it's I forget exactly which verse it is. It's in chapter 6, but it talks about not being unequally yoked together.
The first two is, if you're a Christian, you should be seeking out a Christian partner. And a Christian partner means it's God first. That's the first thing. If you're not, you're basically, what you're saying is you're hurting yourself out.
Yeah, they should be on the same level that you are spiritually or higher. You know what I mean? You don't want to just seek a believer, because people can claim to be a believer. You know, people can claim to be a Christian. Sometimes it's actually cool to be a Christian. You know, the person I was with the first go around said they were a Christian. They made a decision, but they were far from God. So not just someone who claims to be a Christian, but someone who you can see their life and they're at least on a higher level or the same level or higher than you are. Right now, my wife and I, we've got our oldest daughter is married. God has a wonderful husband. He came to know the Lord before they got married. He's a great guy. I'm so glad. I pray right now for my kids. My son is a senior in high school. He's 17. I have another one who's 15. I have a little girl, Lizzie, who's the love of my life. She's 11. And I told her, I told her the other day, I said, Lizzie, crushes will come and go, but Daddy loves you forever. And then the other day I dropped her off. I look embarrassing when I dropped her off at school. I said, I rolled in the window. She was walking away. And I said, don't love any guys but Daddy and Jesus. And she's like, she's 11, and my son Jackson is 9. And I pray right now, I'm praying for their spouses. I pray that they don't settle, that they wait for the right person. Because I know how devastating it can be to not wait for the right person. And I know how much of a blessing it can be to wait for the right person. So I've seen both sides of it. And so that leads me to my next point. That's this. In order to attract the right friends, you have to be the right friend. If you want to attract the right people, whether it's a romantic relationship or whether it's a friendship, you have to be the right kind of person. I can promise you that my wife, Jennifer, would not have considered ever going out with me had I met her coming out of the bar, and I was drunk, or hey girl, you look good, how about me and you get together? She'd be like, okay. She wouldn't have anything to do with me. But because I was becoming the right person, that's something that was attractive to I think to her, and she can probably speak to this, because I was serving God, I was following God, that was something she was looking for. Same is true in your life. you want to attract the right people, hey, God, priority first, become the right person, and you will attract the right people. Whether it's your friendships or whether it's a girlfriend or a boyfriend, you'll attract the right people. And then lastly, be selective in who you choose to hang out with. Don't settle. I tell my kids this all the time. My son has dated a few girls, and I'm like, son, don't settle. Don't settle for second best. Settle for God's best. Make sure you wait for the right one. She is worth waiting for. And I'd say the same thing to all my kids. To my daughter Lizzie, I'd say, Lizzie, don't settle. But how often is it we see people do that? And doesn't it drive you crazy? You can see the train wreck coming. You can see the mess. In my life, people try to warn me. I wouldn't hear it. I was stubborn. I wouldn't listen. I was set on it, and it cost me. And even to this day, I have scars and wounds. I am who I am because of what I've been through, but I didn't have to go that route. And the same is true for you. You don't have to go that route. And friendships can be awesome. You have to be choosy. You have to be careful. And again, not that you're not friendly to everybody, not that you're not loving to people who aren't, on the same place that you are spiritually, but that you're careful with who are your closest confidants, those people that are your closest companions. Companion of fools suffers harm, but a wise person, they become wise because of the